So today I'm going to interview Nicolae Catrina, or Adinathananda, who is a spiritual teacher I very much admire, and I already learned a lot from you. And I'm very honored to talk with you today. Thank you very much for taking the time.
For inviting me.
Yes. So you're teaching courses on Kashmir Shaivism.
Yes.
You devised a big structured course already more than 20 years ago, and also on tantric alchemy, the esoteric I-Ching, enneagramm, and yoga of beauty, which is a very nice, beautiful approach to.
Yes, actually, this yoga of beauty, it's inspired and derived from the Kashmir Shaivism, because art and beauty as a form of transforming ourselves, or even to reach the state of enlightenment, is part of this tradition, the Kashmir Shaivism.
Okay. People are not familiar with the term Kashmir Shaivism probably, and what it has to do with Tantra. So
yes, absolutely. It's Tantra. It's pure Tantra. We could say it's Tantra at its peak, because we can have and meet here the highest metaphysics and a very, very incentive and rewarding literature of spiritual awakening. And at the same time, we can see the purity and this straightforward approach to true spirituality, to enlightenment, and to God. So it is a form of Tantra which is absolutely amazing and extremely actual. I mean, can be practiced and can be lived in our everyday life.
And that makes it
and beauty, beauty is part of it.
Beauty is part of it.
Yes. Actually, the most important figure and initiated one from this tradition, Bhairava, it's even now more appreciated and more known in India as a founder of Indian aesthetics. More than the fact he was such a great philosopher and thinker and sage, or initiated one.
Interesting. So what do you mean by straightforward?
I mean a very direct approach, a very open, very plain and open and direct, in which even your life, your everyday life, can become part of your spiritual quest or spiritual path. What I mean is, especially for us, modern people, anybody complains, I have no time. I would like to practice this and that. I would like to be, but I have no time. When could I practice? And well, the answer is, if you don't have time or means to bring yoga into your life, you can bring your life into this yoga, this integral form of yoga.
Yeah. So you can use everyday life.
Exactly. For instance, some specific life situations which occurs anyway, you pass through them anyway, can be integrated as a very important process of awakening, of enriching you with a tremendous spiritual energy, just because your awareness and your approach to them is different. This is the only difference, we could say.
Can you give an example for us?
Yes. Yeah. Think about a very beautiful flower. And we are several persons looking to the same flower. If someone is very, not into beauty or aesthetics and so on, let's say the average person who say, nice flower, it's nice.
Yeah.
That is entirely their emotional response. But if among us would be a very gifted painter or artist, maybe that flower could trigger in him an amazing awakening and an overwhelming beauty which can be extraordinary for him. So the same flower can trigger such different answers. or responses. Well, same with the Kashmir Shaivism. If we learn how to approach the flowers in our life, metaphorically speaking, that would be any life situation, basically, with this new look, this innocent and we could say also initiated or wise look, then all of them can reveal us what is really there, what is truly there, which is ultimately God.
And Kashmir Shaivism has techniques for all kinds of situations, right? As
Yes.
Eating, sneezing,
Yeah, exactly,
dancing.
exactly. Making love, or even walking, or even admiring a very beautiful landscape, or being in a very intense situations. Even when we face some difficult states, some really uncomfortable experiences, even then we can have a way of reframing all of a sudden that situation, and from the initial uncomfortable or even painful experience, we have a blissful one. This is an extremely powerful and complete inner alchemy, emotional alchemy.
So alchemy means that something changes in your...
It's transforming. Think about two different substances, which actually are different just in appearance. The diamond and the coal or charcoal. Both of them are carbon. The only difference is that the diamond has a perfectly ordered structure, coherent structure. So the idea is, what we need to do is just to put in order, put in the right place what we are and what we live. This puzzling life for us, it's actually the raw material here. What we need to do is to find that perspective, that unifying and synthesizing perspective upon anything we live, that will put in the right context and in the right frame that situation. It's not a make-believe, it's not a wishful thinking, it's a reality. Because from this good or right angle, what we will live now will be the diamond.
So the life might stay the same, but your perspective is completely different, and you can admire the beauty.
Exactly. That is actually the message of many tantric branches or schools, like also in Vajrayana, Tibetan Tantra. They say very plainly and simply, samsara, or the world of so-called illusion, the world of entropy, we could say, this world of disorder, charcoal, in my example, is one and the same with nirvana, the world of pure spirituality, or the diamond. The only thing that differs is our perspective upon that. So what we need to transform in us is the perspective. And that will make the magic. That will do that amazing experience.
Okay. And so in this interview series, I asked people about sexuality, right? So I wonder, how does sexuality fit in here?
Perfectly, because as I said, our life entirely, it's caught, it's inside. Nothing is left aside, and because everything, including all our human aspects, can be seen and it can be regarded in this perspective, transfiguring perspective of spiritual wisdom, including our eroticism and our erotic life and our erotic energies, being also a tantric form of yoga. Kashmir Shaivism offers many ways in which lovemaking, or globally speaking, our eroticism, could be a very, very rapid way for our spiritual liberation or enlightenment. Very simply put, it's like a very fast journey from pleasure to bliss or to beatitude. Yes.
And how do I get from pleasure to bliss?
Exactly in the same way that you make every life situation to become, starting from, let's say, symbolically charcoal, to become a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
That new perspective, that new integration, and I'm not talking here about philosophy. There are precise and clear procedures, techniques for that, through which we simply shift our awareness, our consciousness into a very new, global, much broader view and vision, and from that height, everything is just perfect. Mm. And our erotic energy and that pleasure, sexual or erotic pleasure, because eroticism and sexuality are actually very different things, but this erotic pleasure can be our gateway towards divine or godly bliss or beatitude.
Hmm. How do you differentiate sexuality and eroticism?
Sexuality is we could say, a very raw or coarse energy, yeah, which is based on instinct. It has a certain compulsion to manifest as such, but eroticism has a more refined component and involves love. And for Tantra and for Kashmir Shaivism especially, for an experience, an erotic experience, to be a true gateway towards the divine ecstasy, it needs to be a profound one. Mm-hmm. Not a shallow, not a superficial one, but a profound. And what means profound? Means not only erotic attraction, but a deep love, transfiguration, mutual respect, love, this quality of love, which changes everything, transforms everything. You know, this tradition, as we could say, the entire tantric tradition, value a lot the role of woman, and the women are, we could say, even more appreciated than men in Tantra. Women have a more open nature and structure. They can come more, more easily to deep erotic and spiritual states. Okay, interesting. Including this merging between orgasm and beatitude.
Okay, nice. You mentioned several times the word transfiguration. Maybe we should just quickly say what it is.
Yes, transfiguration, it's what happens spontaneously when, for instance, just an example, you are in love with someone. Really, deeply in love. It's simply a more profound look. We could say a closer look to the other one, towards the other one, in order to see not only what is on the surface of that human being, but what's inside, in their soul, inside. That means to touch their hearts, not only to communicate in a this common superficial way, the mind level or bodily level, but to really know what's in the heart of that person, to be open to the beauty in that person, to the truth in that person, even to those qualities that even that they are not yet aware of, because they have all these treasures in them. Maybe they are not entirely aware of them. It's not a projection. It's not imagining what is not there. It's not thinking or this wishful thinking that you would like to have, or simply you project on the other one what you would expect or you would like to have in return in a relationship. When you are in love, deep in love, you transfigure anyway, because you have a tendency to see the good in that person. You are not blind. You are aware of the deficiencies or the flaws of that person, but they are secondary. For you, what counts most is the good part, the best part. That is transfiguration, that being pretending that everything is perfect because it's not, or claiming that you found finally your one and only and your perfect match when it's not. It's simply paying attention more or focusing more on the good part and really special part of their personality, and more than that, much more than that, their soul and their true nature.
And do couples who are already really deeply in love, do they still need Tantra? Because maybe they already do all that.
Yes, because this is not enough just to be deeply in love. In order to, if they want more than having a beautiful and fulfilling relationship, if they want to transform themselves through love, as you asked about that before, then Tantra can help them to really maybe use is not a very good word here, to integrate their love and their lovemaking and their relationship, globally speaking, as a very, very fast way for self-transformation, for self-emancipation, for self-developing.
So maybe one thing that couples could try is this transfiguration exercise.
Absolutely. It's a very simple one, and everybody can do that.
And then you could do that before lovemaking.
Yes, could help very much. If you love very much, and you are in a deep state of love, you do that anyway. So you do that spontaneously. That is actually another very important thing of Kashmir Shaivism. We use life situations or life energies that come up naturally. So they come anyway. We enter anyway in those states, but not consciously. And that is the big difference. The awareness. Like in my example of the flower. Why? That guy, the painter, let's say, or the artist, had such an amazing response, because he was much more aware of the beauty of that flower than the other one, who, instead of paying attention to the real flower, he knew a label. It's a rose, I know roses. But there is no such a thing like two identical ones, completely identical. You see? So, same with transfiguration. If you just label people, you live in a world of labels, in an artificial world, made up by our mind. But if you really look, you put your awareness there, then you rediscover the truth in anyone. And that is an amazing and extremely beautiful discovery, waiting for all of us.
You have seen such transformations in students, right?
Yes.
From seeing the flower just as a flower.
Exactly.
So it can happen also in a relatively
absolutely, and
small
so
time,
easy,
right?
and so easy. And I saw so many times that such powerful tantric techniques from the Kashmir Shaivism can have tremendous effects, even when you practice for the first time. So they are really very, very, very effective in this direction.
Okay, so maybe people can try to come to your courses or learn in other ways about this.
Okay.
Thank you so much for taking the time here.
For inviting me.
Thank you. And there will be more interviews coming, so keep on checking out this YouTube channel.